Hi knitters, welcome to PJ Knits. My name is Penny and I live in Central Illinois, and I'm a knitter, a blogger, and a YouTube podcaster. And this is take 4, 5, 6, not quite sure. There's always something that gets me discombobulated and I have to stop and think, ah. So anyway, we're going to try and muddle through this. Happy 2019. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday. I had some great time off. I'm fortunate to have some days off between Christmas and New Year's, and so I got to do a lot of knitting, a lot of catching up on podcasts, and a lot of watching videos and doing whatever I wanted between Christmas and New Year's, so it's been nice. It's back to work, and it's just a couple of weeks into it, but you know, the weather here in Central Illinois has been fantastic. It's been 50, 60, and the sun's shining today, but I hear that it's going to chill down in the next couple of days. We're going to get maybe some snow on the weekend. So I'm thinking winter is going to be back with us. But either way, I'm okay with winter because for winter, it's sweater weather and I love wearing sweaters. So I have a few things I want to talk to you about today. First of all, we're going to start with 2019 knitting. I wonder, what are your plans for your knitting? Mine is sweaters. Mine is going to be trying to use my stash whenever possible, but those who know me know that sometimes that's hard because I'll go on a tangent where this is something I want to knit and I have nothing in my stash that I think is appropriate. So I am not holding myself to that, but whenever possible, I would like to use my stash in the next year. Also, I am still continuing, I think for this year, I'm going to do my fish or cut bait. It is something that I talk about on my blog every once in a while. And what fish and cut bait is I choose a knitting project that is a whip, pull it out and decide whether it needs to be fished, continued, or cut bait, pull the needles out, repurpose the yarn, throw it away, whatever, but to get it out of my whip piles. And I'm going to do those one at a time as I come to them this year. And my first one, well, actually, this is my second one. One of my first ones, I already ripped out a sweater and tossed it because it just wasn't what I wanted to be knitting on, and I knew that I was not going to knit on it. So that one went by the wayside. And then the next one up was Nancy's vest, which I am fishing because I'm going to continue to knit on this. This is a pretty simple little pattern from Carol Sunday out of her yarn. And I'm going to continue to knit on it as I can. It's a great take-along project. Right now it just needs buttonholes and keeping tabs on those every so often and some decreases. So right now that is my fish until I finish it, and then if and when I finish that, then I will pull out another whip and decide whether to fish or cut bait it. My main focus this year, as I've talked about before, is knitting sweaters. I want to continue something I started in 2014, which was Knit and Fit on Pinterest. And the premise of that was that I want to knit sweaters that I think are fashionable, that fit me, and look good on me. And also on the other side of that, this year is the year where I want to drop some pounds. We have a wedding later in the year, which I want to be down a little bit for. But also, in addition to that, I want to be more healthier because I know what my genetics are of my parents. And I would like to just try to stave off as much as possible those things that come with genetics. So, and I think by losing a little bit weight, I will feel better, and that's what I'm doing. So that is part of my whole Knit and Fit program for 2019 for me, and I'm going to talk about that on my blog, and I also will talk about that in a thread in Ravelry, and I've already posted one of what I've started doing as far as losing a little weight, and I love ideas, and I'd love for others who might want to go that route with me as well to weigh in, and we can kind of be a support staff for each other. Now I'm going to show you my binder for Knit and Fit for 2019. I have a binder. May have talked about this a little bit in past ones. And what I've done is back in 2014, I printed off some pictures. I like to use Pinterest as a idea of gathering of ideas of items that may be in ready to wear that I may want to take that idea and kind of take that picture, that styling, that, what they've done, and maybe knock it off in a sweater to get that sort of look for me, or just get an idea of things that go with something that I might have my wardrobe or that I might be knitting. And so I printed those pages off from Pinterest back in 2014, and I am using those same pages, and I have made some notes as to, in my notebook, in my page, of knitting patterns that would be good for that particular look, and things that may be in my wardrobe, things that I may need to knit. And one of those, and I'll show you a close-up of this one. I love this idea right here with the red purse and the gray sweater, and that it looks, and it's not really a knitted scarf, but it could be. And I liked the styling on that. And so when I saw that picture, I went to what I had, some of the things that I already had, and one of the ideas is this shawl that I made many years ago. It's called Down Over. It's a Cheryl Oberly pattern. And it was, at the time, I knitted it out of her alpaca. And it has some of that same color in that Pinterest page that I saw, and I thought, I don't wear this enough, and why don't I wear it? Probably because I'm not sure how to style it correctly. So when I saw that, I was reminded of a pattern that I had in my library, and it was called Storm Mountain, which gave me the thought that if I knitted Storm Mountain out of a gray yarn and added my Down Over to it and my other accessories that I have, that I could style that particular look for me. So what I did is I went to my stash, and I wasn't happy with anything that I had because I don't have a whole lot of grays. So I went to one of my favorite yarn vendors, and I found what I wanted, and I ordered it. And this is the yarn that is going to be my Storm Mountain. This is from Sunday Knits. This is called Eden from Carol Sunday. And so what I'm going to do is knit Storm Mountain out of it, I believe. And then I'm going to add my shawl to it. And so I'm super, super excited about this first Knit and Fit 2019. So those are kind of the things that I am gearing myself up for 2019. And I'd love to know in the group as well, are there any sweaters? Does anybody else do that? Do you see a style that you like in ready to wear of a sweater or sewers? For me, this really began, 30 years ago. I worked for I worked at a fabric shop that was out of Chicago, and they had a branch here in Peoria. And I worked there. It was called Off the Bolt. And the manager at the time was so good about knocking off ready to wear in sewing. And so what happened is I think we did a lot of that in that job. It was fun to see something in ready to wear and then go to the fabrics and create an outfit or a wardrobe based on a designer or something that we were seeing in ready to wear. And that was a lot of fun. So I really started, I think remembering, bringing that background when I started knitting, seeing sweaters and thinking, hey, I could knit that style, that designer, or get that look and just bring it to knitting. So I'm just wondering if you talk about that in the either down below or in the Ravelry group. Let me know. Is anybody else like that? Do you follow ready to wear? And then say, hey, I can duplicate that. Now, it's not cheap to duplicate it. I understand that. But for me, it gives some sense of taking something that I would love to wear and bringing all of my pieces and perhaps my knitting to it. So I'm looking forward to 2019 and doing some of those things. Let's talk about it in the group. Okay, so next up, what's going on? What are we knitting? Well, if you'll remember, I showed a little bit in the last podcast. I have been a part of a MCAL on iRock Knits. There was a mystery pattern that she put out, started the day after Christmas on the 26th and went for 12 days. It's called 12 Days of Knitting MCAL. And 12 days have passed, and because I'm working on something else, I had to take a little break, and plus I had to go back to work. While I was off, starting on the 26th, I kept up with the MCAL until work came back, and then I wasn't able to, and then something else caught my attention that I wanted to get moving on it. So I had to kind of stop on that, but once I get done with another project, then I will be back at this. But anyway, the yarn is from Leading Men Fiber Arts. It's 2 of their gradients. And so we're just going to start here at the beginning. This was day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. Moving into another colorway, day 7, day 8, and I'm into day 9. So this has been a super fun knit. I've been enjoying it, watching the new colors, and it's all lace samplers. So I'm hopeful that come the weekend, first of the week next week, I'll have this all done, and it's going to be a cowl. And the funny thing about this is I saw, back to my Pinterest page, I had another one that I thought would be so cool to duplicate. And so for this particular look, I have most of the pieces. I don't have the boots. Again, those are things that you have to change up probably. But I thought I will use my cowl that I'm knitting on as the scarf here. I have a gray turtle and a little turquoise top to come down maybe over it. I have the purse. I have gray shoes. So I'm using my Pinterest page for this and trying to come close, not actually duplicate the look, but anyway, that's my cowl. And I'm looking forward to that. And what brought me away from my cowl is Knitmas. Knitmas is still ongoing. It's in my project bag. I cannot show it to you. I will show it after it's done, blocked, and in the hands of my Knitmas partner. This is something that on the Lupin About group in Ravelry, that this is our 2nd year that we've done it, and we receive a partner that is secret that we knit for based on some of their wants and likes, and then we knit it up, put it in a box along with some other goodies, and send it off to them before February 1st. And so what I did is I decided I needed to get this done and blocked and on its way soon, and it was weighing on my mind, so I stopped knitting on my cowl and went to it, and I hope to finish this again by the weekend, to have this be finished and blocked, or at least blocking, so that next week I can gather the stuff together and get it out to my partner's hands. So that's what I'm knitting. That's kind of taken me away from what I wanted to be doing right now. Finished projects. Turtle Dove. I love this sweater. This is a free pattern from Espace Tricot, and everybody is knitting it out of something. My particular one is out of the Woolfolk Luft. It's a brown colorway, and I have made a few modifications to fit me. I lengthened the sleeve a bit on it, and I changed up the decreases because I need this extra width in the arm. And so I finished Turtle Dove and blocked it, and I am loving this. This is it was a fun knit, and it has a split hem as we're into right now, or at least I'm into. And the yarn is just luscious, and I love it, love it, love it. So I highly recommend Turtle Dove. What fun has that been? Also, 40 cowls, 40 months. I have a cowl. It's not a cowl, though. We're calling it cowls and scarves now because it could go either way. And I finished, this is my purse project. I finished one of these for the girls' holiday party next year. In December two other gals at work and I have done these bashes. We've headed them up, coordinated them, and been the MC for them. And it will be our 15th and last year that we're doing it. And so everybody is getting a scarf or a caul or a shawlette that I have knit as their major gift and present. So I finished another one of those. I have quite a few to go, but I need to get those, keep on with that. But that's my 40 scarves, cowls, 40 months. I had 40 months, when we decided to do this, I had 40 months to do it in, and I didn't. So I'm going to be doing a few extra in a month just to get them done. But anyway, that is the finally finished projects that I have right now. I am wearing Pickpocket by the Rainey Sisters, and I am loving this one too. I showed this last time. It is just luscious. It's out of Kinsey yarn, and I love the pattern. I'll just stand up a little bit. Whoops, sorry. You can see the little pocket that's in it. Again, has the split hem, and I love, love, love this sweater. I can see maybe making a variation of this down the road, so having so much fun with that. Okay, let's talk about books and bags. Something that I have been doing for years is I have been keeping a journal of my knitting projects, and I have several of these, but I'm just going to show you the couple that I have next to my chair right at the moment. And I do use Ravelry for my finished projects, but before I put them into Ravelry, I've been putting them into my journal. And what I do for this journal is I will put in here the date that I've started it, the date that I've finished it. I'll do a little description of them, who it's for, where I bought the yarn, any kind of changes that I made to it. And then I will put the yarn tag in there, I cut off some of the yarns, because sometimes you just want to see what they look like. And I will put that in there, and I have been, like I said, for several years, many years. And then what I do is when I finished it, in each year, I choose a new color of marker, and I will circle the end date in that year's marker color, so that at the end of the year, I can go back and pull out all of those and look at them and tally them up in the end of my journal, so that I can keep, I like to remember how many things, specific things that I knit, like how many scarves, how many sweaters, and I will put those at the end of the year of my journal. And so I've accumulated a couple of Vera Bradley ones, but they don't make these anymore, which is sad. And then this is one that I have been using since kind of sort of 2016, the end of 2016. But this is from Schoolhouse Press, and this is is called A Knitter's Journal. And this is put out by Meg Swanson's company. And again, I have been keeping tabs and doing basically the same thing in this particular book. The thing that's so cool about A Knitter's Journal from Schoolhouse Press is throughout this they will have quotes from Elizabeth Zimmerman, and you all know that she is, to me, just the bee's knees when it comes to knitting. I found her when my kids were young. I found them on her on a PBS station, and was just enthralled with the techniques that Elizabeth brought to them. I subsequently went to knitting camp for the first time, and it was at that point in time I realized when I went to knitting camp with Meg Swanson, I remember going into our room that night, into our hotel room with my friend Julie, a new friend at that time, and saying, you know what? I just realized that I can knit any sweater that I want to and make it fit me based on what I have learned from EZ and Meg Swanson. It was life-changing in my knitting. So anyway, I digress, but these are the makers of that book, and they will put in the front, they have EPS, Elizabeth's seamless percentage system that I use quite often. There are pages that have gauge in it. There are, like I said, there will be little sayings on the pages. There will be a little demonstration of I-cord. In the very back, there's two styles of this one. There's the EPS drop shoulder, where she talks about that. And there are patterns at the back. There's always a pattern in the back from the Elizabeth Zimmerman era, a needle conversion chart. And so I'm using this book right now until it is done as my journal. And one of the things that I do is when I have a project in progress or a WIP, I put a paper clip. That way I can see readily how many WIPs I have, and also if I pull out a bag and I say, oh, this is a WIPs, then I can go to the page and continue the conversation on that. So when I tell you it's Fisher Cut Bait 2019, is that an indication of the WIPs? So anyway, this is a Knitter's Journal, and it's from Schoolhouse Press, and there is two different styles of this with the two different pictures on the front and the back. So anyway, good knitting to one and all, Elizabeth. So that is my book for this episode. And then next is the bag. All right, I'm done buying bags, right? I'm done. I'm saying it here. I'm not. You know that's not true. But I saw recently, finally somebody had one of these in stock, and I had to buy it. I have been coveting this for some time, and this is the Fringe Supply Field Bag, which came. This is not the wax canvas. I love this. It sits up. What I don't like is this black one collects all the fuzzies, as you can see. But I was pleased to get this from one of the websites. It has some pockets on the inside, and this one, I think, and pockets on the outside. This one for me is going to be my knitting on the porch bag, because it will sit, and if it gets dirty, it's no big deal. And so that's what this is going to be. But that's the field bag. I was so pleased to get that. It's my Christmas gift to me, or my back to work, my back to work bag. So that is books and bags. Okay, what the mailman brought. This is so much fun. I saw this on Instagram. This is from Freckled Whimsy, and I had to have this. This is called Peppermint Mocha. It's self-striping and stripes, and I could not resist it. I think this will be great Christmas socks for next year. And then here's the little mini skein that goes with it. Is that going to be adorbs? I'm so looking forward to that. Today we have really good light, but yet we also have some blowout, don't we? So I'm looking forward to that. And then one of the fun things that came not via the mail, but via my niece. Last summer she was in the UP, and while she was there, she knows my love of alpaca. She went to a place called Rainbow Gifts and Yarn in Norway, Michigan. And I saw her after Christmas. Have you hugged an alpaca today? And she brought me back a skein of yarn. This is classic alpaca, baby alpaca. In pink. And she said maybe I could make our new granddaughter something out of that. Yeah, maybe I could. Or maybe it's just going to be for Aunt Penny. Isn't that cool? And that was so appreciative and such a sweet thought for her to do for me. And I do appreciate that. And alpaca is it's my all-time favorite. What's your all-time favorite? What do you like knitting with the best? Brand, yarn? Let's talk about that in the Ravelry group. I'll open a thread because I'd love to know. Are there yarns that I'm missing that should be in my favorites? Let me know. Let's talk about that. So those are the things that I really have for you today. I just want to touch on one last thing, which is the podcast that I've been watching. I want to do a shout out and let you know about one that I found right before the holidays, and I binge watched it because I love this podcast for a couple of reasons. The podcast is called 3 Ply Podcast. It's 3 ladies out of Elgin, Illinois. And first off, Elgin, Illinois. To me, Elgin is maybe, 2-3 hours away. So to me, it's local. And I love seeing podcasts about people who are local that I may meet up, potentially. Second up, their local yarn shop is Elgin Knitworks, and I've been there. And Sue P., if you're watching this, we've been there. So this is so cool. And they show some things that go on in their local yarn shop, Elgin Knitworks. How cool is that, especially when you've been there? And looking forward to going there again. It's so cool. So I will put the link, but please watch 3 Ply Podcast. It is a fun podcast to watch. I have found some cool items that I want to knit because they were showing them or wearing them, and it's just a fun watch. You don't want to miss them. Anyway, so that's all that I have today. Thank you again so much for coming by. Let's talk in the Ravelry group. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends about it. And I hope that you are knitting just what you want to be knitting this year. And until we come back together again, knit on with confidence and hope. Have a great January. See you later. Bye.